Episode 211, Seduction for Lindsay. Jason was surprised and asked, "What are you talking about, David? What do you mean?" David, holding a glass of wine, led Jason over to the window where they wouldn't be overheard. He said, "Before I met Leona, I really liked Lindsay, but I never really got to have any fun with her, if you know what I mean. Don't you think that's a pity?" "Yes, it's a pity," Jason agreed. It was true that David used to like Lindsay as much as he now liked Leona. But because she was from such a respectable family, she had refused to sleep with him until they were married. Now that his engagement with Lindsay had been called off, he had lost his chance to sleep with her. Initially, he had felt fine about that because he thought that Leona was even more beautiful. However, when he announced that he wanted to marry Leona instead of her, she looked completely unbothered. Her smile had really annoyed him. It also made him desperate to have her. He told Jason, "So, I want you to seduce Lindsay. Find a chance to get her drunk and take her back to your dorm. Just let me have some time with her first, and then she's all yours. What do you think?" Jason thought for a moment. He hesitated and said, "David, I want to help you, but what if Lindsay doesn't like me?" "You don't have to worry about that. You're so handsome. Any woman would want to be with you. Also, I'll lend you a Ferrari that I just ordered from Italy. Beautiful women love luxury cars. Use your charm and you'll soon win her over," David said with a smile. Jason was blown away by David's offer and nodded his head, saying, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll seduce Lindsay and get her back to my room. You can have her first and have a good time with her." The next day, Alex had just finished class when he received a call from Lindsay. "Are you free?" she asked. "Do you want to come and watch a tennis match at the Olympic Games with me?" Lindsay sounded very cheerful. Of course, Alex didn't know that it was because her engagement to David had been called off. "Yes, great, I'll go with you," he replied. He wanted to see Lindsay happy, so he agreed to meet her. "Well, I'll come to your school now. Wait for me at the gate," Lindsay said and ended the call. Alex walked to the gate and waited for more than 10 minutes. Finally, she arrived in a cab. "Have you been waiting long?" she asked as she walked over to him. She was wearing a white figure-hugging sweater with fitted black pants. She clutched her pink-encased cell phone in her hand. She looked very pretty and full of energy. "Why are you so happy today?" Alex asked with a smile. "Well, why shouldn't I be?" she replied. She knew that Alex was interested in her sister, but she decided not to tell him that Leona was now engaged to David. She took Alex's hand and walked over to the cab, saying, "Today, my friend invited me to watch a tennis match at the Olympics. I thought that you might want to go with me. We have to meet my friend soon. Let's go." "Your sister is probably free too. Why don't we invite her to come too?" Alex thought it was a good opportunity for him to see Leona. Lindsay pursed her lips and said, "No, my sister doesn't like sports. Please don't talk about her today, okay?" Alex detected a trace of jealousy in her words and was embarrassed. He said, "Of course, okay." Soon, they arrived at the Olympic Stadium and waited outside. Lindsay made a phone call, and before long, 3 men and 2 women arrived. One of them, a particularly beautiful woman, walked at the front of the group. When she saw Alex, she frowned slightly. "Jane, you've brought so many friends," Lindsay said in surprise. She thought that her friend was coming alone. Well, I thought it would be fun if there were more people, Jane replied with a smile. She looked at Alex again and asked, Lindsay, who's this? He's my good friend. His name's Alex. Lindsay looked at Alex and smiled. Alex, this is Jane. She's also my friend. Alex said hello to Jane and the others. Jane introduced her friends to Lindsay and Alex. Jane had been looking at Alex and noticing his cheap clothes. She had already figured out that he was poor, and she finally asked, Alex, what does your family do? I'm just from a normal family, nothing special, he replied with a smile. So you don't have a family business? She asked, thinking that his vague answer confirmed her suspicion. She was there to help Jason seduce Lindsay, but she was worried that Alex would get in the way. She looked from Lindsay to Alex and back, and sensed that there was something between them. She thought, I need to get Lindsay to hate Alex as soon as possible so that he doesn't pose a threat to Jason. Jane had invited her friends to help Jason seduce Lindsay. They were all listening to the conversation, ready to get involved. When they heard Alex's reply, they started to criticize him. One said scornfully, You do understand that Lindsay is a member of the Marvel family. Are you with her because of her money? Why don't you just leave? Although none of us are from families like hers, we at least have some money. You're clearly out of your league here. You're not the sort of person she should associate with, said another. Another said, Yes, I think he has bad intentions towards Miss Marvel. Jane, tell your friends to stop. I don't need their opinions on who I make friends with, said Lindsay angrily. She took Alex into the stadium. Lindsay, wait a minute. We're still waiting for someone, Jane called. Who else is coming? Lindsay's face was dark. If Jane had told her that she had invited so many people, she wouldn't have come. Before Jane could reply, there was a huge roar, followed by a dazzling blue light on the road. It was a magnificent Ferrari. Instantly, everyone's eyes were focused on it. Wow, said one man. How beautiful, agreed his girlfriend. I'd die to have one of those, another man commented wistfully. Everyone watched the sports car slowly drive into the square in front of the stadium. Cars weren't allowed to park there, but the security personnel was not about to challenge the owner of such an expensive Ferrari. The car slowly stopped next to Lindsay. The door slowly lifted and a young man stepped out. He was wearing a light blue shirt and white pants. His hair was slickly groomed, and he was wearing a pair of black designer sunglasses. It was Jason, and he looked every bit the son of a very wealthy family. Jason was feeling very arrogant and superior, having made such an impressive entrance in David's car. He knew that he looked handsome, and had no doubt that he would attract Lindsay's attention. Jason, you're here, Jane greeted him with a smile, and then turned and said to Lindsay, Lindsay, this is Jason. He's also from one of the top families in the city. You guys must have a lot in common. Hello, Miss Marvel. Jason reached his hand out to Lindsay. He had never met her before, so had asked Jane to introduce them. Hello. Lindsay just nodded to Jason but didn't shake his hand. She realized that Jane had probably only invited her to set her up with this man. Everyone's going in. Let's go, she said as she took Alex's hand and walked toward the venue. Jason was disgruntled as he watched her walking off with Alex. Jason, don't worry about him. He's just a poor kid she feels sorry for. You have nothing to worry about. When we're in there, we'll help you make sure that Lindsay falls for you," Jane told him confidently. The others nodded. The group went to the best box in the stadium, with the best view of the match. All of Jane's friends were very impressed with their seats. "This is the best box here. It was reserved by Jason. It can't be booked by just anyone," Jane said aloud, and several of her friends immediately echoed her words. One said, "Yes, we're so lucky to be friends with Jason. Thank you, Jason." "Only Jason could reserve a box like this for us," said another. Although it was all for her benefit, Lindsay was not listening to them at all. She and Alex were sitting in front of the glass window, watching the game with interest. Jason was angry as he watched them. He couldn't understand why Lindsay was so interested in that loser. He winked at Jane, who quickly went over to Lindsay and said, "Lindsay, it's rare for Jason to come out with us. Usually he's too busy with his businesses. You should have a good talk with him. I think you probably have projects that your families could help each other with." Jason walked over with a smile and said, "By the way, Miss Marvel, my father has a business proposal that he's looking for an influential family to partner with him on. Let's talk about it. Do you think—" Lindsay interrupted him. "Jason, I don't understand business matters. If you want to work with my family, you should speak with my father." Then she continued to chat with Alex. Jason was a little angry. Lindsay obviously had no interest in him. He was a confident and laid-back character and rarely felt angry or jealous. Jane was also worried when she saw Lindsay's reaction to Jason. The sole purpose of inviting everyone to the match was to set up Jason and Lindsay. Now it seemed that Lindsay was only interested in that peasant. Jane was convinced that Alex was the only obstacle to the success of their plan. She walked up to Alex, tugged at his shirt, and said disdainfully, "Alex, come here for a moment. I have something to say to you." Alex didn't stand up. He just looked at Jane and said, "Please, don't pull my shirt." She was angry and said, "Hey, how dare you talk to me like that? And how dare you sit next to Lindsay when you can see that Jason wants to talk with her? Get out of the way and let Jason and Lindsay have a good chat. What are you even doing here?" Lindsay looked at Jane angrily and said, "Jane, how can you talk to him like that? Alex is my friend, and I'll talk to whoever I want. It's none of your business." Jane didn't know what to say. Jason simply stood beside her, frowning and sighing. At that moment, another engine roared outside. The people in the box went to the window, looked down, and saw a white sports car pulling up in the square. Alex and Lindsay also went to the window and looked down. Alex was surprised and thought, "Isn't that my Ferrari?"